Every character in Genshin Impact has an ability called an elemental burst. Every elemental burst has a certain energy cost that needs to be hit before this ability can be unleashed. But how can this energy be acquired? Before we talk about energy's generation, we need to first understand the types of energy. Energy can come in 5 different forms. 4 of the forms are combinations of either a particle or orb, and then it either has an element or is clear. The 5th is something called flat energy. There are 7 different elements energy can take, being the ones advertised in the game. An elemental particle will give 3 energy to the character on field if the character's element is the same as the particles. However, if they're not the same, that on-field character will only receive 1 energy. Similarly, an elemental orb will give 9 energy if the on-field character is the same element, 3 energy if not. For clear particles and orbs, the character receiving the energy gets the same amount, independent of element, and will receive 2 energy if it's a particle, 6 if it's an orb. The other characters in your party that aren't on field will also receive a percentage of the energy, according to the rules I've already mentioned. If you have 2 characters in your party, the other character receives 80% of the energy they would have if they had been on field. For 3, it's 70% for each off-field character, and for 4, it's 60% for each off-field character. Energy generated via particles and orbs are all affected by the character's energy recharge statistic, which just multiplies how much energy you would get. For example, if a character has 150% ER and accepts a clear particle on field, that character would then receive 2 times 1.50, which equals 3 energy. Unlike the other forms, flat energy isn't affected by energy recharge and is directly added to your character's burst meter. No particles or orbs will be produced when flat energy is created. Now that we know the types of energy, we can now discuss how energy can be generated. There are several ways this can occur. The first being through normal and charged attacks. The second through elemental skills. The third through dropping enemies to certain HP thresholds. And 4 is a group of other miscellaneous sources which I've collected together, such as the Favonius weapon line, certain elemental bursts, etc. Looking at the first method, both normal and charged attacks will produce 1 flat energy randomly. According to data mine sources and in-game testing, the rates at which this occurs is dependent on the weapon the character is using. Sword users have around an initial 10% chance to generate this energy, then that scales by 5% every time an attack doesn't generate the energy. For example, if you don't proc the energy the first time, you now have a 15% chance to proc it the next time, and then 20% the next time, and so on and so forth. All other weapon types lack an initial chance to produce this energy, but have scaling percentages similar to the sword users, which are 5% for bows, around 10% for claymores and catalysts, and around 4% for polearms. Note that this energy is only given to the on-field character. Another thing to keep in mind is that this chance does reset once you gain the flat energy, and also has a 0.2 second cooldown before another flat energy can be generated. Now, using elemental skills is the primary method of generating energy. Activating one will generate particles with the same element as the character using it. So for example, if Bennett uses his skill to create particles, those particles will all be pyro. Every character produces a different amount, and you can view all these values on KeqingMains' website, link in the description down below. All enemies also produce energy when you drop their HP to certain percentages of their max health. This can also be seen on KeqingMains spreadsheets, which I have also linked down below. Typical percentages include 33%, 66%, 25%, 50%, and 75% of remaining health of the enemy. These can generate anything from orbs to particles, and sometimes also have specific elemental particles attached to them. Some weapons are also capable of producing particles. The whole Favonius weapon line is able to produce 3 clear particles when a crit is performed. There are also elemental bursts that restore the party's energy. Raiden Shogun and Electro Traveler both produce flat energy with their elemental bursts, making the energy that they restore unaffected by energy recharge. Similarly, Venti also has a flat energy mechanic with regards to his passive, Storm Eye. Additionally, both the Exile and Scholar artifact sets produce flat energy with their 4-piece set bonuses. Electro Resonance also gives the ability to produce energy through electro particles after performing electro-based reactions. There are several other examples of artifacts, characters, and weapons that can produce energy, and they all have their own unique characteristics. Now that you have a better understanding of the ways energy can be generated, we'll move on to talk about what a battery is. For my terminology video, a battery is a character that produces excess particles. Well, how much is excess? For most characters, their energy output is determined by how many particles their skill can produce. The more particles they can produce, the better of a battery they'll be. Speaking based upon personal experience, the character with the least energy regeneration from their skill over time that's still considered a battery is Albedo. He's able to produce a geoparticle with around 67% chance every 2 seconds, making his expected energy production around a third of a particle every second, or around 20 particles per minute. This is a good quantitative baseline for us to use to determine whether or not a character should be a battery or not. If they produce 20 particles per minute or more, they can be used as a battery. The best batteries for each element with respect to skill generation only are going to be Kazuha at C1, Ningguang at C2, Bennett. Technically, Raiden is tied for official, although official technically wins out most of the time just due to the way her skill and burst work. Kaya and Shincho with a stack sword. Note that, unless I specified, the characters listed are at C0 and are weapon independent. This is also only accurate to patch 2.5. Keep in mind that energy regeneration isn't the only utility a battery can provide. Despite Diona producing less energy than Kaya does, she can produce shields and heal the party, providing much more utility than Kaya does. Now you may be asking, why the hell do I need a battery? Well, a lot of characters in the game have their damage locked behind their burst. This includes characters like Eula, Xianling, and Beidou. They're often not able to fund enough energy on their own to get their bursts off exactly when their ability cooldown ends. This is where batteries come in. They'll supply the necessary energy for those characters to be able to utilize their bursts off of cooldown. This allows you to then maximize your damage on your main DPS, as less energy recharge investment is needed on your artifacts, and you can dump those stats into, say, crit rate and crit damage. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. With that, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.